Hello, everyone, and I am so glad that you found us. My name is Kitty Fezehazian, and I am your empowerment coach to help you see just how limitless you are. Like many of you, I am a woman navigating the exciting, challenging, and sometimes unpredictable terrain of life. I have personally faced multiple unexpected hurdles, redefined my dreams, and learned sometimes the hard way the power of honesty, not just with others, but with myself. Some of those hurdles have consisted of homelessness and building a successful corporate career while also battling cancer. And then the most recent one, betting on myself to live out my own dream of entrepreneurship. So today, let's go ahead and get started and talking about how to truly be honest with ourselves. Being honest about your goals is the first thing we'll talk about. Sometimes our goals are defined by others. So it is important to really sit down and look at what truly is our personal goals. What motivates you? Are your current goals aligned with your values and your deepest desires? Or is it an echo of societal expectations or a past version of yourself? As an example, my drive of climbing corporate ladder came from wanting to make my immigrant parents proud that I had a successful career and quote unquote a good salary because that was success to me. But my passion was not being fulfilled. I had to really look at the direction that I wanted my life to take and decide if corporate was still the right fit. So I decided that it wasn't. And instead, I wanted to create something that would empower other women who may be feeling the same way that I did and may have been feeling as not unfulfilled, just like I was. And so that's why I left corporate and decided to start this journey into entrepreneurship. The other thing you want to look at is the shoulds versus the wants. Let's just ditch those shoulds and dig deep into what you generally want. So, as women, there are a lot of shoulds for us that society, culture, and generations put on us. Like the should of women should be married in their 20s. As a Latina, uh, anybody that's not married in their 20s is looked at as a hag. I mean, come on. They literally have songs about this. If you're not married in your 20s, there's a Shakira song. If you're not married in your 20s, you're going to be dressing saints for the rest of your life. Um, so that's a should that's put on us. You should learn how to cook and clean because you want to be a good wife. You should want to have children because you're a woman, and many other shoulds. But here are some questions to consider when determining if what you're chasing is a should or if it's a want. Who are you doing this for? Are you chasing that promotion because it's truly something that you want? Or is it something that you feel you should do? Like, oh, well, after a year, I should be promoted. This process requires you to really sit and meditate with it. Really look inward and analyze it. If it's what you truly want, because it takes courage to be honest with yourself and realize that possibly the path that you thought you were on is not necessarily the path you want. but instead is the necessary you think you should be on. So journaling can help you figure out what that should versus what that want is. And then also redefine what success means to you. For me, success meant I had a corporate career, and I had this brand new car or newish car and a house of my own. Part of the successful life that I envisioned was to travel often and to be invited to business luncheons and meetings. Like in the movies, or if like you're a Sex in the City person, Samantha, right? So those ideas of success that movies portray. However, that was all my illusion of success. The more I network and talk to people, the more I learn that there are many ways to be successful. Some people are content with just having freedom of time. They do not need material things to be successful, which helped me realize that success does not have a single definition. And after my cancer diagnosis, my definition of success shifted drastically. It became less about climbing that corporate ladder and more about living each day with intention and gratitude. This is when I decided that my passion was around investing in other people's growth. If I could help one person live their best life with their best version of themselves, then I was fulfilled. And that's what I seek out to do every day. Another way that we can be honest with ourselves is by embracing both our strengths and our weaknesses. They're actually our superpowers. Our superpowers are those things that we are naturally good at. For example, myself, I'm naturally good at teaching others. That is a superpower that I love to lean onto. Recognizing your strengths is an empowerment. It allows you to focus your energy in those areas that you can truly excel in. So, not trying to be other people, again, the should, not wanting to be and say, I should be like this. Because I'm this age, I should be here. No, it's just recognizing what your personal strength is. Because trust me, we're all a piece of this puzzle called life, and we need your piece. The people around you need that strength of yours. So it's okay to also say, I am good at. I did a good job when. I used to not think that that was a thing that I could do or I should do. Again, should. But then I started to hear a lot of my male counterparts say this. I led that project successfully. These were statements I only used in an interview or even on my resume that I wouldn't dare speak out loud. I wouldn't say, I am a good leader, even though there's evidence that I am, because I thought, that I would be looked at as arrogant. But no, it's okay to speak about your strengths. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's important to start to say, I did a good job at leading the project or whatever else you've done. It's important that you tell your story. It's more empowering when you tell your story versus what somebody else is telling it for you, because they don't know the true struggles that you went through to be that success, to have led those projects successfully. Only you can speak for yourself. And equally as important is to acknowledge those areas of opportunity where you have the opportunity to strengthen them. Because we all have weaknesses, and denying them can actually hinder your growth. So when you acknowledge them, we are taking power from it. This means others cannot use it against us because we are aware of our areas of opportunities. Awareness also means that we can do something to help shrink that knowledge gap, either by seeking support, learning the new skill, and building resilience. So for me, one of my weaknesses is asking for help. I have been working on learning how to trust others to help me when I need it. And I actually heard a quote that says, or something along the lines of like, allowing other people to help you is allowing them to love you the way they want to love you. And that was very powerful for me because I didn't realize that somebody helping me out was them demonstrating to me their love. And I thought that that was great. So I'm working on letting people love me by helping me out. Again, areas of opportunities, and I'm here to be vulnerable with you. So here's which leads me to my next power bullet point. When we acknowledge our areas of growth, there is power in being vulnerable. Being honest about this is where true strength lies. It allows others to see that you have areas to work on and that you're just as human as they are with beautiful flaws. Especially if you're in a position of leadership, it's important for your team to see your flaws. If you're a parent, it's important for the kids to see your flaws because, again, it shows them that we're not perfect and they don't have to be either. They're still going to be loved. They're still going to be accepted. They're still going to be part of the team. And in fact, when you do show your vulnerable side and your areas of opportunities, it allows for more trust because others can be honest about the areas of improvement that they're working on as well. Another thing that we need to learn to be honest about, and that society and certain cultures do not teach us about, are feelings. Oh no, we don't want to talk about feelings, right? Instead, we avoid talking about them, and sometimes we even avoid feeling them, right? If I've known this from previous generations in the Latino culture, it's somebody would pass away, right? And the matriarch of the family, let's say they lost their spouse, and then it was, okay, let's grieve and let's move on the next day. Okay, we grieved for a day, let's move on. That, like, if that person never existed. And that's what they were teaching their children. And so nobody talked about feelings. No one's allowed to cry. Or I used to do this for myself too. And I guess I learned it from that generation. Was when I first got diagnosed and I would get my scans. And sometimes the scans weren't what I expected them to be, or there was a growth, or there was another tumor that was found. I would put on the brave face in front of my doctors and my nurses and like, oh, okay, everything's fine. Very, and I have been like this because I think this is part of my boundaries and how I protect my mental health. It's very transactional for me. I treat my disease as a as a business transaction. I go to the doctor and it's very business like. So my whole thing is never let them see me cry, or it used to be. And then when I would be nervous, I still do this. Whenever I am nervous about a scan reading, I'll dress up extra nice. I'll wear makeup. I'll dress nice. Because if I feel good in the outside, then I could feel better in the inside in case something doesn't go well. So I used to get those scans that weren't exactly what I wanted. And of course, go there and everything was fine. And I was smiling and it's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate your help with this. Good. We're moving on, right? And then get home, throw myself a pity party, which that's where I would allow all of my feelings to flow and to come out and cry it out and, you know, eat that comfort food for that day. But then the next day I'd be like, okay, pity party done. Let's go back. Let's figure out what the next step is. Let's keep it moving. And for a lot of years I did that. But then I realized that I'm still bottling some feelings inside. So now I feel what I feel when I feel it and how I feel it. And don't judge me because I'm living authentically. So that's one way that I became more emotionally aware. Emotional awareness is important because it's not just good for your emotional state, but also for your mental and your physical health. Again, suppressing emotions, they do not disappear. So my 1 day pity party and moving on wasn't necessarily disappearing. They fester inside the body and they appear and manifest themselves in many ways, including illnesses. So I'm not here to spread rumors and I'm not here to make up scenarios. But when I was going through therapy, which we'll talk about actually next, my therapist mentioned that it was interesting how she had a two or three other, I think she had, it was three total, two other patients who also had the type of ovarian cancer, which is the one I was diagnosed with. And she mentioned that they were sexual assault victims. And here I was too, as a sexual assault survivor from when I was a child. And now I had developed this. There are links, and I know that there's research that has been done on this, how illness in the body could be a manifestation of unspoken feelings. And if you want to research more, I suggest you Google that to learn more about that. But there is a link. So, learning to identify and acknowledge our feelings, even in uncomfortable situations, it's crucial. So, for me, another piece is because of my cancer diagnosis, ovarian, I went through a full hysterectomy, which basically meant I didn't get to have biological children. And for a long time, since my parents divorced when I was 19, I had talked about I'm never going to have children. That's another type of trauma. But I'm not going to have children. I don't want children. That was it. But then having a hysterectomy and that being a reality changed it for me. This meant every Mother's Day was tough on me because, and I did it unconsciously too. I remember I would start feeling bad before, like a week or two before, once those commercials started coming out about Mother's Day. Like there was sadness or irritability. I would get angry for no reason. And then I would always pay attention. Oh, it was the date. It was around that time frame. And then Mother's Day would come and I would cry. Anytime Mother's Day was mentioned, or anytime I saw any like cards or anything like that, even celebrating my own sisters and my own mother, um, those feelings of sadness would come. I tried to ignore them by, again, distracting myself or saying things like, well, at least I have nephews that I help raise and I have a stepdaughter, uh, but that will never heal the absence of having biological children. And I didn't realize that until I really sat down and I acknowledged it and acknowledged that it was a painful thing for me. And once I faced that grief, that's when my true emotional healing started. So it's been, I want to say, at least 3 years since I haven't really noticed the sadness. It's like, oh, it's Mother's Day today, or oh, Mother's Day is coming. But then I could really focus on my sisters and my mother versus having this sadness. It's still kind of there, but it's not to the extent as it used to be. So when we were talking about therapy, was my diagnosis was in 2013, and in 2014 I started to explore therapy because I needed help with sorting out my feelings. I didn't know anybody else who had cancer. And then when I tried to go to cancer support groups and I tried to join cancer social media support groups or follow other accounts, those, instead of helping me, they made me feel worse because a few months later, those people I was following, or even a year later, they actually passed away. And I didn't want to put that in my head because I'm fighting and I want to tell the universe that no, you're not going to be me. I will. And um, so I stopped following those types of accounts on social media. And then I would go to support groups, but everybody was so much older than me. Everybody was in their 60s. I was in my 30s. And so I stood out like a sore thumb. And I didn't look like them either. Uh, if you see me, you would never think I'm fighting this disease. I mean, I even tell my doctors, if you wouldn't tell me because of the scans, I wouldn't know this is in me. But yet, when I was going to the support groups, people, needed assistance. People have their nurses with them. And so I didn't feel like I fit in. So I went to therapy to help me sort my feelings. And therapy can be such an invaluable tool for exploring our emotions and developing healthy coping mechanisms. And do not let anybody tell you that therapy is not good for you or that you need something else because it's a sign of strength and not weakness. Anytime you seek support, that's a sign of strength. Remember, I told you I struggled with asking for help. Going to therapy was a way of asking for help. Another way is journaling and self reflection. This has been another tool that I use on a regular basis. I do it daily, except for the weekends. It's like Monday through Friday and then the weekends. But I always take 30 to 45 minutes to reflect and journal. This has helped me find clarity and acknowledge the things that I can control versus what I cannot control. It has helped me connect with my inner self and sometimes even understand what the root of my emotions are. That has really helped me. And then also reading back I can see where I have grown. I can acknowledge where I have stayed steady, and then new things that I should be working on for myself, which again takes strength. Now, what's the benefit of honesty? Let's be real. Having all these tools and knowledge does not mean that we're going to be perfect in every area of our life and that we're going to show up confident every day. However, when we are honest with ourselves, it helps us increase self awareness. How are we showing up in certain situations and why? Are we shrinking around certain people? Are we staying quiet to please others? Or are we showing up as our authentic selves? For me, when I started one of my management positions, I had a white male as my partner, as my colleague. And I started to notice that I would not offer my opinion if it was going against his. So that was something I really had to sit and explore and figure out why. Once I did, I was able to share my opinion regardless of whether he was in agreement with me or not. But at the end of the day, I was now being an active participant instead of just waiting to see what they would decide. Being honest with ourselves also helps us make clearer decisions, decisions that are aligned with our personal values and our true desires versus wanting to please others. Again, I would look for any male counterparts, like I would say my opinion and make a decision, and then I'd look in the room at the males. Like, how are they perceiving it? Are they in agreement or not? That's childhood trauma as well, but I'm here to be open and honest with you, to be vulnerable with you. Just because I teach these things and I know about these things doesn't mean that I'm perfect, like I had mentioned before. It just means I have a little bit more knowledge and I have been doing certain these things that have helped me, and now I just want to share them with you. So not only do you get to make improved decisions, but you live a happier life. This allows us to live our lives authentically because we're being honest with ourselves and we're not just making decisions to please others. We're not making decisions based off of other people's expectations. We're doing it for the benefit of our lives, living our lives honestly. But again, right? Challenges come because we are human. So, how do we overcome those challenges that come up unexpectedly in life? In those moments when we face difficulty, be kind to yourselves. Self compassion is so essential in these moments. Treat yourself with the same kindness that you would offer any friend. This is important to remember because most of us like to analyze situations as if we were the ones that failed versus identifying could we have even had any control over that situation. I used to beat myself up and try to figure out what I did wrong in certain situations. And, to be honest, that's just a human thing that we always want to know the cause of it. But we're not always in control of every situation that happens to us. However, it's important to be kind to ourselves. And then next is start small. Honesty is a practice. Start with the small step and gradually build your self awareness. I suggest having a journal beside your bed and jot down ways you were honest with yourself that day. So, analyzing your day right before you go to sleep and write down how you remain honest with yourself. So, was it a decision that you had to make? Was it something a boundary that you set? Or you could also identify the situations where you could have been honest, but you weren't. This will get you into the practice of doing it every night, and then it's going to become a habit. And then throughout the day, you're going to be conscious of, am I being honest with myself? The last one is practice self compassion. Very similar to being kind to yourself. Have compassion for yourself. After all, you are doing your very best. Be gentle during this process. It takes time and courage to cultivate honesty. And guess what? You may actually be alone at it, right? The people around you may not understand what you're doing. But as you're learning to be honest and live honestly, it's okay to be on your own. And if you need anybody to lean on, I am always here for you. The next is honesty with others. So we've been talking about being honest with ourselves. Now, how do we bring others into it? Some people choose not to speak up when someone has hurt them or when they feel a certain way in order to avoid conflict. Dismissing or avoiding conversations can actually make them worse. This is why it's important to be honest not only with yourself, but with others as well. How do you have that honest conversation with others? You want to use I statements. This will help avoid blame. Your statement should reflect on how you feel about the situation and your perspective rather than attacking the other person. It gives them the opportunity to respond with their perspective as well. I feel like I thought this versus you said this, you did this, right? It feels very different. Also, be direct, even when the topic that you're bringing up may be difficult and may bring in some negative feelings. It's important to face them head on rather than allow it to fester. Be conscious, be concise and to the point rather than beating around the bush. This will help minimize misunderstandings. And be clear in what boundaries you want and wish as an outcome from the conversation. Or what is it that you wish the outcome to be? Remember to also stick to the facts and to the current situation. Bringing up past situations can make things confusing, and staying factual is also important because then you're both discussing the same thing versus something you think that happened. So we want to stick to facts. And then how do we just live a more honest life? This is more about living in integrity. You know, that thing when you're doing the right thing even when no one is looking. We need to commit to making a conscious decision to prioritize honesty in your life. Find ways and explore different avenues for self discovery, again, such as journaling, meditating, therapy, or even having conversations with trusted friends. Here's another one that may be the hardest for some people because I know this is difficult for me, but it's also the one I find the most valuable. Being open to feedback, asking for feedback from others to gain new perspective on yourself. You will be amazed to hear how others perceive you. Remember, don't get defensive. This is for your own personal growth. Now, I would love to hear from you. In the comments, type how living honestly has helped you, or what will you implement to help you be truly honest with yourself. I can't wait to hear all about it. If you want to contact me, I am at sheisLimitlessCoach at gmail.com. And these are the handles for my TikTok and my Instagram. Until next time, keep being your limitless self. Bye.